Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports Disordered. Mr. Logical there, 2-5 here. We got a lot to get to tonight. It is wild card weekend. You know, we got the Miami Hurricanes in the national title game. Unfortunately for us Seminoles out here, even though you could check me out on chopchat.com, just dropped the article about how Florida State could learn something from Miami. Then, of course, you know, we got some NBA talk because Trae Young is a Washington Wizard and more. But we're going to get right to it. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. You know what I'm saying? No ginger ale tonight. I'm feeling better. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Mr. Logical, what a game last night. You texted me back. You know what I'm saying? We got the Miami Hurricanes, great game last night. They dominated Ole Miss. If you look at the scoreboard, you see a close game. If you look on the field, you saw a game that came close to the wire. If you look at the intangibles, Miami bust that ass.
Oh yeah, they were getting handled. That's the byproduct of mistakes, though. Yes. Make too many mistakes, you keep people in the game, and I think Miami did that. I mean, Trinidad Chambers proved that. Listen, I know he's dealing with like the NCAA and being denied and everything else, but don't listen to Stephen A. Smith. If the Jets want to take you at 2. You take that number 2 overall. You take that up. Listen, taking Mendoza's going 1. What does he do that much better than Chambers does?
I don't know. I don't think that Mendoza's going to be this great quarterback at the next level. I do like Dante Moore.
He's projected to go 1.
I do like Dante Moore, but I think he could probably use another year as well. But ain't nobody taking Trinidad. If Trinidad Chambers was like 3 inches taller, you know, maybe.
He doesn't play that small. Like, we talk about Bryce Young and his height and everything else, but he played big. And you see he makes the big plays. That 2-point conversion was huge. The throw to the tight end, huge. Carson Beck showed me a little something. The speed of Miami is ridiculous. But that's the thing. For me...
And he ain't 6'1". I don't care what they say.
Oh, they have him listed at 6'1"?
Yeah.
So he's 5'11 and a half. That's his height in cleats. So Miami, the speed, and one of the commentators last night says something that conversations you and I had multiple times, being that you're a Florida State fan, and I'm just looking at life logically, is like every NFL team has multiple players from the county surrounding the Miami Hurricanes campus. Mm-hmm. Every team has a couple of guys on it. How is it that you can't just look out the window like, oh, look at those kids playing football on the street. Let me find out, does he play in pads? Because he's probably fast. He's probably either undersized and just ridiculously fast, or he's too fast for how big he is. But he's from that area, and I guess they're saying that they're finally recruiting that area better, especially with the NIL deals. Because now if you could just walk into somebody's house like, listen, man, you want your son to stay here? Cool, we'll move you from this side of the town, close to the campus, give you a nice townhouse, and we'll run him $75,000 a year to keep him in Miami. It's going to be a good team. So That was evident last night. Like Malachi Tony, they kept saying he's supposed to be a senior right now, and I was thinking like, if this guy was playing against, because a lot of high school playoffs just ended probably right before Christmas. A lot of those championship games, like those high level, group 1, 2, like they finally ended their championships like 19th, 20th of December time frame. He would have been playing in one of those games.
Right.
2 weeks ago. So to have him on the big stage, just get the ball in his hand. I don't know why they even try to disguise it. Like, listen, I'm throwing bubble screens every drive to him. You can try to jump it if you want, but if you miss that tackle, he's going to score.
I mean, he looked like a damn cheetah, if you know what I mean. But as I was watching it, Miami held the ball for 41 minutes and 22 seconds. And still
a 60-minute football game.
I know, still almost blew this game, you know what I'm saying? But look, I want to go somewhere else with this. You know what I'm saying? The Carson Beck redemption story, and I'm not going to sit up here and act like he played great last night, because he did not. You know what I mean? But he was discarded, after he got injured. Everybody had him on this. Oh, he's no pro prospect. He was supposed to be the top quarterback in the draft. He ain't better than Shador, all that kind of talk. And then he came to Miami, won a few games. They lost a couple of games this year that nobody ever lets me hear the end of, as if I'm a Miami fan, But then I kept saying, but Miami has the trench play. That's the thing that separates Miami from other ACC teams or Big 12 teams, is that on the front lines, they will maul you. And, so as the game went on, it was in his hand, just like a story, poetry. He had to lead the team down the field. Now, he almost threw a pick. He threw it too high, but he almost threw a pick. But then again, Miami dropped, 4 or 5 picks during the course of that game too. And so as I wrap this up and kick it back over to you, the keys to these games are real simple sometimes. Third down. Ole Miss went 2 for 10, and one of those conversions was actually targeting. So really they were like 1 for 9. But I knew the game was over, Mr. Logical. Ole Miss's first play of the game. Because Chambliss threw that ball to the sideline, and that DB came right over the top. I was like, oh, he can't get the ball there quick enough. Those guys got that recovery speed.
I thought they had it. I thought they recognized they had a guy get kicked off the field for targeting. I still don't think that's targeting. I understand how they've written the rule, but if you're coming across the field and I'm coming from my angle to make a tackle and you fall, like I can't do anything about where my head is if your body that you're in control of falls in the path of my head. When he was going to make a low tackle, the dude fell down, got a targeting, got him ejected out of the game. So that opened up space. They had a couple of injuries in the secondary. Trinidad just kind of picked them apart. The tight end was a big target. He had like 3 catches and the touchdown in the second half. But I thought they were going to be able to hold on. I just thought that Ole Miss they were just battling and grinding. Like you said, the time of possession was 41-19. And through all of that, they had the lead, less than a minute left in the game. I just thought that they were going to I thought someone was going to get through, get the sack that just messed up the Miami drive, and Ole Miss was going to pull it out. But as I was watching them make it down the field, I was like, okay.
And my pet peeve, right?
What's that?
We always argue about these basketball games of, hey, that's a foul. You can't call that in that moment. That last play, you got to call that. This wasn't a Hail Mary where he was throwing it from the other 30-yard line and people are bumping and jumping over each other. The defender literally grabbed the receiver's arm. And I don't know if the ball was catchable or not. I will admit that. I haven't watched it a bunch of times.
If you aren't pulling them down, if you're not pulling them down, I think he can get both hands up the DB was in good position. I
He
think he would have been
was,
able to
but he
get.
still
I think he would
interfered
have
with
been
him.
able to defend the ball. Yeah, I think he would have been able to defend the ball. I didn't like the play call because I don't like rolling. I don't like cutting off half the field in that
I
moment.
knew you was gonna say
On
that.
top of the fact that I don't like rolling a right-handed quarterback to the left and cutting off half the field. Like those are two things I just don't like in that moment. I would have liked maybe a more of a drop back and maybe somebody underneath. Like, because everyone's dropping into the end zone looking for the guy in the end zone. You don't want the guy behind you.
You know what I'm saying? Throw that
like
thing
the
to the
tight
7,
end.
huh?
The tight end was behind that receiver that was being pulled down. I like if he was coming, like if the wide receiver did like a little fade route and he's pushing the boundary, and then you bring the tight end on a post underneath of that, because neither corner is going to want to let the wide receiver run past him in that moment. And from the 35-yard line, you can make an accurate throw from 35. From 50, it's a heave. From 45, it's a heave and it's up there. But from 35, you can make a very concise
who's
throw.
yours?
So I would have liked a different play call there, especially if you kept keeping the middle of the field. Like I think you just get more options. But ultimately, like they didn't get anything going. There was something like they wanted to run like 80 plays. They wanted to go high run tempo.
You can if you ain't on the field. And, you know, and of course, Miami gets the national title game at home.
They're getting $3 million for travel.
You know, well,
because that's part of the $20 million. That's part of the $20 million package that comes with
you know,
to the game.
And I didn't know until earlier yesterday that the ACC,
get a lot of chargers.
The ACC switched it up a little bit, so Miami doesn't even have to share the money with the rest of the conference either. So, you know, there's that. And, you know, but, you know, it's at home. Are they going to have to use the visitors' locker room in their own stadium? But this is the question. A wise man told me earlier that Ohio State and Miami are proof that the system works.
That's me. I'm not wise, man.
So tell 100%. Me more.
I think from the release of the college football playoff standings, there's all this. How did they get in? Why are they here before it's actually final? So I think people are just arguing for the sake of argument because they want to posture their team up. So when the initial CFP comes out and you have a team like, you know, a 2-loss, whatever, sitting at 14. They're like, oh, they shouldn't be there. Or when Utah was at like 17, and it was like everyone's arguing all these little finite points. When it breaks down, when you get to the final 12, it's the best 12 teams, you know, the at-large and everything else.
Maybe.
But last year, and there's gonna be some
say
caveats.
No to Bama.
There's gonna be some caveats, and we get it. But with the 14 playoff, you wouldn't have got Ohio State last year. Even if you would have gone to 8 teams this year, like say they just never came up with the 12, say they were still running with the 4, and they're like, you know what, we'll go to 8 now. With 8, you wouldn't have got Miami in this year. So I think ultimately it needs to be tweaked a little bit. Like we talked about the bye team, the teams that get the bye, and then the road games. All this stuff needs to be tweaked, but the system in itself works. Getting an at-large team, in, they deserve a shot. They deserve a shot. Like, listen, we got 11 other spots. Let's get an at-large team in here. Because other than that, then it doesn't make watching the other games interesting. I don't know what's going on here if you're watching this game, but
I told you what's going on.
It's getting out of hand.
Who's yours?
I don't know where you are in the clock, but it's 2:32 where I'm at, and I don't know if you see it on TV, but
you're ahead of me. So
okay,
I'll
let you see it then.
So I think that it works, but I know those Notre Dame fans still feel like they should have got a piece of this. And, you know, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. You know what I mean? The problem with Notre Dame was they didn't have the win, unless we're going to give them credit for beating USC, but they didn't have the win, and that's why I said that the system, it might have worked in the end, when we get these teams that are upstarts that came out of nowhere or that we would have had eliminated before that are there now. But if you're Notre Dame, it's literally like, dude, if you would have beat A&M or Miami and lost to USC, you'd probably be in the playoffs right now. So that's still not, no, ranked Pitt does not count. You know what I'm saying? Ranked Pitt has like what, 4 or 5 losses still? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they were a good team at the time that Notre Dame played them, but you still have to play after that. And Notre Dame beat them, and then Pitt went and lost by 31 to Miami. And then Pitt lost the bowl game to ECU. For those who care about bowl games, you know what I mean. So no, you don't get credit for that. Which is the hold on real quick. Which is real quick. Which is real problem. Which is the problem with the system, is that we don't continue on. So like when Alabama got the credit for beating Missouri and Tennessee, for example, and those teams finished the season without a win against a team with a winning record, that should have been a demerit. Like you got to go back and look at Alabama's resume again and say, oh, this wasn't what we thought it was. And I'm not yelling at you. I'm just passionate. It's the way that I talk.
It's the way I talk, Charlie Murphy. So I was thinking about this yesterday. After Miami won, I was just like sitting around thinking, I was like, the system working. I was like, all this stuff. Every time I think about something, I think about, okay, what am I going to say to Mike when we have our show? You are good to go until you lose, and then your schedule will get evaluated. Because you can ride on it's all about wins and winning. So no matter who you beat, as long as you're winning and you're a team that has enough cachet, or you're in a conference with enough cachet, as long as you're winning, then your argument would be like, hey, they beat everybody in front of them. It is not their fault that insert team lost to this other insert team, because you won your games. Once you lose, you lose that era, you lose that margin for error, and then it gets evaluated. You get thrown in with everybody else. It's like we talk about, we always mix the military jargon in with this. Our promotion system. If you are clearly the number 1 or number 2 stratted person in your unit, you're good to go. If you are 3 or 4, depending on the size of the unit, you're pretty locked into promote now, must promote. Everybody else gets mixed in with the promote crowd. Now you have to do the work to prove I deserve the strike, because the way the system is set up, even though it might not be fair, it's locked in. So as long as you keep winning your games, you're locked in. Once you lose a game, like Notre Dame, Miami, Bama, all these other teams put themselves in a position where it's like, now someone has to advocate for you. And are you the best person to advocate for? Are you the best prospect? Am I going to get, if I have to pick a team I'm going to represent, if I'm on the committee and I'm like, I think Bama should be in, you got to look at them like, you know what? I think I have a valid argument for Bama over Miami and Notre Dame. I'm rocking with Bama. Then you need help. If you win, there's nothing they can say to you. It's not my fault that this team turned out to be bad when we beat them in October. That's not my job. Is to beat them when they're on our schedule.
I think we're going to end up at 16 without the buys. So, NCAA tournament style, 1 against 16, 2, 15, so on and so forth, because they're not going to keep signing up for all the highest ranked teams are losing their first playoff game. The buy hasn't been beneficial to anybody but Indiana. And, you don't get the home game on top of that. So I played all this season, whooped everybody, won my conference. And my reward is, I guess, a vacation.
My reward is that I get to help Arthur Blank and the owners of the Mercedes-Benz stadium get more money. So it's 16. Like you said, the teams that got the buys have lost, but those are the teams that were in the conference, like the Big 12. So you got Texas Tech. Last year, you had Boise State. They're going to get the marquee names in. So I don't think Oregon losing to Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year upset the committee
No,
because it was Ohio State that beat them. If
no.
Boise State would have beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and then they can just kind of foresee the numbers dropping for the following game. But if you're gonna fill the back end of the 12 or the 16 with your marquee name. So Georgia's gonna fill in, like, if we go to 16 next year, I'm just predicting it. Georgia's gonna fill in a spot. If Florida turns around to be good, if LSU's any good, if Ole Miss is good, Miami, if Notre Dame's any good, they already have it kind of written that they're in. So from 8 to 16, if those are just your traditional blue bloods that we can sell out stadiums, you'll still be fine because you'll get your, like, say Washington goes on the tear and they get like a number 2 or 3 seed. Indiana runs it back, but say Penn State has a good year next year. Virginia Tech has a good year. You'll squeeze in these teams on the back end to where even if a 16 seed, you'll get a 16 seed. It'll probably be like Oklahoma. It'll be a 16 seeded
Well, no, I think they're going
BYU
to
or
keep the
16
G.
seeded Utah.
Well, no, I think you keep the G5 there because you got to
saying,
give
like, in
those
that
top
range,
teams
that
as a
14,
reward. Yeah,
that 14 to 16, you'll still get one of these top tier recognizable names, and they'll just be playing against, case in point, like Texas Tech. Say that $5 million they spent on Swordsby works out, and they get another bye or they get a top 2 or 3 seed. You're gonna get Texas Tech versus Oklahoma in the first round.
yeah.
Because
And by the
Oklahoma's gonna have a
way,
couple of losses. They'll still get them in at 14.
and by the way, Miami has Sam Levitt, talking to him today. So there's that. But Mr. Logical, we're here. We finally made it through the season. Playoff time. We're gonna go through this, in game order.
Okay.
So here we go, taking it from the top. A couple of weeks ago, the Carolina Panthers did something improbable. They beat the Rams. And then a few weeks later, they did something else improbable. They lost their last game of the season, to a division rival, but because of tiebreakers, they're still here. So you got them playing the role of Seattle Seahawk, the Rams playing the role of the New Orleans Saints. Can Carolina get it done again?
Yeah, let's say sign Marshawn Lynch and they get one of those Richter scale level runs. I don't know how they beat the Rams last time. I know it was a bit of a shootout.
Well, they picked off Stafford a couple of times. That's how.
Yeah, they had a couple of interceptions. It was probably one of his, but he had a bad interception day against the Saints too. So I mean, against the Falcons.
Well, he finished the season with 8.
Yeah, and he threw 3 against Atlanta, and I think he threw 3 against Carolina. Strangest conference in football, by the way, like the way they played out this year, like sneakily, like the strangest thing that happened.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing it this time around. I just think the pass rush, what they could do up front. I think Bryce Young, the pressure on his shoulders. I don't think 35-7 just because it's a playoff game, but I can see Puka going for something crazy like 130, 140. Devontae was probably ready to go against Atlanta, but I'm not sure if it would have benefited them to play him against Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. So I'm pretty sure he's probably ready to go. The passing attack for Carolina is almost non-existent. So if you could bottle up Rico,
my bad. He was talking about this game. My bad. Who's yours?
We look like something else happened. We got a pass, butt down. Can't see where the ball is, but you'll see it on the replay. Yeah, I got the Rams pretty much handling this game. Good thing for Carolina, they got their playoff berth, but
Get some
they don't
money.
have the momentum. They don't have the playmaking. Like they're just lacking the things you need to really make a splash in the playoffs. Like they literally got in because another substandard team beat another substandard team to force a tiebreaker because you lost to the other. So like it's like there's no momentum. It's like we made it in.
Which
Now
is
we get one of
crazy.
the best teams and the MVP come into our stadium.
And we beat them a couple of weeks ago. So, they already got that on their mind. So they're not going to, take us lightly
I'm not going to
either.
take you lightly. Yeah.
All right, Scott. Appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate the engagement.
I like my numbers, right? So Carolina point differential on the season, -69. They do have a couple of things that could give the Rams trouble, though. They do have a Tetaroa McMillan. They do have running backs that can get loose, so they have I won't call it a puncher's chance, but they got a knuckles chance, but I think that
they have the fact that they're at home. They have big wide receiver targets. For Rez, I'm gonna run it down. I think they're like 6'4", 6'4". Like Leggett and T Mac are like 6'4", and then Coker is like 6'3". So
right.
they have an undersized quarterback. So I think you have an opportunity if you can make plays. I just feel like the front for the Rams is just too dangerous, too formidable, and you did beat them. You did leave, like they have a sour taste in their mouth about the last time that they were there.
Yeah, and they're getting Devontae Adams back. Lake is back. I think that Bryce Young's just going to have a hard day. I mean, we already talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He's not even hitting 200 yards in most of these games. Yeah. So it's going to take for him to make plays with his legs, I believe, to get this done because he's going to be under a whole lot of pressure. And of course, Sean McVay, I think the Rams will take this game, play it pretty close to the vest because I don't think they have to get exotic or anything like that.
Yeah, I think they can stay in that single back play action that they run 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and just
what up, Rez? Yeah, I think that you could sneeze. Like as quick as you can sneeze, the Rams might be up 21-3. And I think from there, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, you just run the ball until Carolina stops you, which they won't, So then Saturday night, Mr. Logical, the game that I'm ready for, the Chicago Bears back in the playoffs. This is only the third time that they've played the Packers in the playoffs. And of course, the last time was that infamous Jay Cutler game with Jay Cutler on the bike,
right?
Yeah, that was the last time they played in the playoffs.
That bike.
And that was at Soldier Field as well.
You could be in a brace.
Yeah. And matter of fact, that was the year
played with no ACL.
That was the year the Packers won the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. But
was it?
Yeah, I think that was the year they were the wild card and went on the road all 3 games. But anyway, this game is going to be crazy. The environment, hopefully we get a little weather mixed in there. But I'm struggling because, I picked the Packers to go to the Super Bowl before the season. And I don't want to do the thing where it's like, hey, this is what I picked. So I'm like trying to hold on. But this is what I got, Mr. Logical. They played twice this year, and Chicago has a combined 3 first-half points in those 2 games. So they've been able to run the ball effectively against Green Bay, averaging over 5 yards a carry, but 3 points in 4 quarters. So with that being said, that tells me that Green Bay is defending Caleb Williams well. Outside of that once-in-a-lifetime pass he made to win the last time they played. And they played 2 weeks apart, and they played in December. So this isn't me going back to week 4, week 3, and saying, Green Bay did this. They were effective this way. This is all recent data. And I don't want to do the if thing, but I think Green Bay wins that game if Jordan Love doesn't get the concussion. So
I mean, if they recovered an onside kick,
well, that
you had it took it took a lot, and I remember Rez was saying, "Hey, you can't keep living up that forever," because I ended up picking Chicago to beat the 49ers the next week because I was like, "This is crazy momentum." I just find that the Packers are just so inconsistent. Jordan Love seems to always get hurt. It just he's always like getting hit. He's taking too many hits, and every hit seems to take him out of the game. Like against the
Mhm.
Giants, not throwing shoulder, he's out. Malik is in. Malik started the game against the Ravens, and like you said, he went out. So just because I can't rely on any consistency from the Packers, picking the Bears is just it's just a lot, just logically. The Bears keep it under 2 trick plays. If the over under is 1.5, I want to take the under. So you could do one fake punt or one flea flicker. Don't be out here having Caleb Williams lined up as a running back and you tossing the ball to him and then you throwing the ball backside to the backup tackle and like just keep all of that stuff for the video games and for practice. Just keep it simple because Green Bay has shown you that if you just get your hand on Jordan Love, get a shoulder pad on him, get a few hits, you might be able to steal a win. Ask Carolina.
Yeah, and see, and that's the thing. Because back to your consistency point, Green Bay is consistent in that they play well against the good teams. So they may not look good always, but the good teams can't pull away from them. The Monday night game against Philly, they lost that game. I believe it was 10-7. The 2 games against Chicago that I'm talking about, so Green Bay shows up when it's time to show up. And that's what I'm relying on here. Now, the other thing here is what's the psyche? Because we've been talking about Matt LaFleur possibly losing his job, so if they lose this game, that could be a conversation. There's rumors about Kevin Stefanski coming in. So there is some of that pressure there. But Green Bay is also the first 7 seed to ever be favored since we started this whole 14-team playoff thing. So I don't know. Ben Johnson made that comment earlier when he first took the job. I love playing against Matt LaFleur. We're going to find out. I'm taking the Bears, though. Kyler Gordon is back for the Bears, so the secondary will be locked, cocked, and ready to rock, as they used to say.
Basic training stuff,
Yeah, the formula, Chicago, just run the damn ball. Micah Parsons isn't there. And let's see how much Diggs we see.
Yeah, that's a I don't know how NFL rosters are working, but that just seems like a very that seems like an NCAA basketball kind of move where it's just you discard a guy and he just jumps on a playoff winning team and it seems like no one's penalized. There's nothing you got to give up. You just say, oh,
well, they cut him.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little different, but I get it. Everybody gotta get a job.
Right.
Yeah, I got the Bears. I got the Bears just because I'm like, I don't 9-7-1 is for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. I can't see him ramping it up. Granted, it's a division opponent. I just don't see I don't see where they change levels and get on Chicago's level.
Okay. All right. So then on Sunday, the trendy pick. A lot of people are in love with these Jaguars. A lot of people I've been talking to this week are running around going, Duval. So, Mr. Logical.
Like you didn't run that by anybody before you went to your first press conference?
Pressure is on the Buffalo Bills. You got to get this done. No Mahomes, no Lamar. We've heard all the talk. You got to start in Jacksonville, a team that has won 9 straight games. Can Buffalo go into Jacksonville and walk out victorious?
This is why the NFL playoffs are dope, because this is not the first round. If this was college football, you wouldn't want this as a first round game. Like they wouldn't want Georgia versus Bama in the first round. They'd want it later just for entertainment purposes. And I think the NFL is like, listen, man, this is the layout. 14 teams make it, 2 teams get buys. Let's go. Uh, so far I've picked. Well, I picked one road team, so I think the pressure, because no matter what you do, if you are in possession of an iPhone or Samsung or any kind of social media device, and you play for the Bills, you've heard the John Harbaugh's holding out because you never know what's going to happen with Buffalo. Buffalo could lose their coach. Buffalo lose their coach. He's hearing it. I imagine that he can't. I'm pretty sure he got asked about it in a press conference. You can't ignore that. And does that creep into your head on 4th and 2 from the 48? And you're like, do I want to punt this ball back to Jacksonville? Do I want to use my MVP quarterback to get this 2 yards? So I think Jacksonville's playing with house money. They're playing at home. They're playing well. They've got some big wins. They have great team camaraderie. I watched the video of all the where in the world is Carmen Sandiego detective work they did to get Trevor Lawrence's dental records, to get them to the jeweler to make the grill and present it to him without him finding out. Like, his mom was involved, his wife was involved. So I think people who are doing that much to, like, just really highlight the guy, like, keep in mind, they bought him a grill. He has a $250 million contract. So I think the cohesion is good. I think they had the bad loss against Houston. So like they talk about the 9 straight wins. They had a bad loss where they took their foot off the gas, and then they got right back to work, and they've run off victories ever since. So I like Jacksonville. I don't know if I would fire McDermott if I'm Buffalo's leadership, but the fact that there's guys going to be out there, like I said, I think Green Bay is going to lose. So LaFleur potentially could be out there. Mike McDaniels, I know you're not going to hire a guy in the division, but Harbaugh's already out there. So there's guys out
Mike
there
Tomlin!
that hire. Depends on how his weekend goes. So there's immediate championship level pedigree coaches available in the event that you get rid of Sean McDermott. So, but I like Jacksonville. Like I said, I think they're playing with house money. They're playing well.
So I know I've been making light of things, but like, look, I'm gonna be straight up serious. This is a tall task for the Buffalo Bills. Jacksonville 7-1 at home this year. Winning their home games by average of 16 points, which, by the way, is number 1 in the NFL. ETN's been having a very underrated, under the radar season. Buffalo's run defense is leaky, to say the least, and that's probably being generous. But Buffalo does have James Cook. And as Mr. Logical and I talk about very often, is that when Buffalo remembers that they have James Cook, things tend to go well. So people have been down on Buffalo this year. They lost to the Patriots early in the year. They didn't win the AFC East. Ladies and gentlemen, Buffalo still went 12-5. This isn't like Mr. Logical was just saying about Green Bay 9-7-1. This ain't that. They still won 12 games. Josh Allen 0-4 on the road in the playoffs. Sean McDermott 0-5. So there's another monkey to get off your back. Josh Allen has taken the most sacks of his career this season. And you got the other Josh Allen coming for you now, locked and loaded. But ladies and gentlemen, I said it once. I said it Tuesday. And I'm going to say it again right here and right now.
Wait.
No
one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
You're damn right. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, because this would be different if people were doing what I'm doing. And I'm going, because you're talking about the pressure and what people are saying, the talk around the town. So if a lot of people were saying what I'm saying, that Buffalo is going to come in here and win this game, then I would lean towards your way. But everywhere I turn, all I hear is Jacksonville, Jacksonville, Jacksonville. And to that other part of the brain, I'm going, these are the new kids on the block. They ain't sending us home. I don't care if we're playing in Duval, Shuval, the Moon. We coming in there to beat some
Yeah,
ass.
but like you said, 0-5 for the coach, 0-4 for the quarterback. I know it's a team game.
Yeah, and things come to an
They
end.
had to have had that same level of confidence before. I just think it how we talked about the Bears and
We
like
got to
that,
figure a couple of those are Patrick
playing on
Mahomes too.
true indeed, but you had 13 seconds. One of those games was a 13, you had 13 seconds left. And I remember it was like, why wouldn't you just squib it? If you'd have squibbed that kick,
You know why? Because that
you
sounds
would have
like
ran out
coaching
9
to
seconds.
me.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean. That 4th and 2, that's going to be inevitable. Maybe in the first quarter, first or second possession, that 4th and 2 from the 48, either side. What are you going to do? And
Well,
I think that's going to be that's going to be a telltale sign. I
to
just
your
have a
point,
feeling that Jacksonville will just not. Jacksonville won't have past failures in the playoffs when they were favored as a part of like their decision making. I know McDermott's probably going to say like, "Listen, I take every
yeah, they got
game
a
as a
first
new
time.
game."
They got a first time playoff head coach.
So it's like, if it's going good, listen, hey, I think this RPO with Trevor keeping on his 4th and 2 is going to work because I don't have last year. It didn't work.
It's been too
I
long
don't
since
have this.
Jacksonville. It's been too long since Jacksonville tasted their own blood.
But they tasted it
Bills.
so badly.
Bills.
I like it when we don't agree anyway.
27-20. 27-20. All right. Let's go to the link, Mr. Logical, around your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
We got whatever is left of the San Francisco 49ers, because now we found out that Bethune's out for the season now. You know, no linebacker, as Rez will have no linebacker made the 53-man roster coming into this season. You know, obviously Nick Bosa's been gone for a while. Fred Warner's gone again. Ricky Pearsall's been hurt lately. Trent Williams is hurt, but he's back. So, look, the only thing in the Eagles' way in this game, I believe, is the Eagles.
Yeah. It's laid out for them to figure out whatever their problems were. And because Chicago played San Francisco in a shootout a couple of weeks ago. So it's 42-38. Philly's not going to play that game. I think defensively, I don't think you're going to take those same type of shots against Philly. I just feel like Shanahan, you're going to have to be conservative because Philly has all their horses. I was talking about this in the barbershop the other day. It was like, the thing with Philly that's kind of blowing people's minds, and it wasn't shocked because my barber was like, he's like, they're not going to let Philly lose. I'm like, but Philly hasn't lost their players. Philly has all of their key players are readily available. They offensively, they have, a 5-headed monster, and you throw in Bigsby. And defensively, they just have, like I said, they got the whole SEC conglomerate of champions. And then they got, some of the best white boy corners. What they call themselves,
the Great Whites.
The Great
No,
Whites.
that's Joe Budden podcast, I think.
The Exciting Whites.
Exciting Whites. There you go.
The Exciting Whites. They have Zach Bond in the middle trying to control things. So Philly has all the pieces they need to stick to their game plan that's worked this year and the game plan that they were running last year when they won the Super Bowl and the past 2 years. Like they don't have to alter anything. 49ers having to overcome another injury, backups. It just might be too much. Kyle Shanahan, coach of the year, but I know once you start getting the Super Bowls and your team has Super Bowl aspirations, the voters forget that you're still a good coach, and they give it to like the new hot coach of the year. Like this is what the award should be changed to, is like the new hot good coach, because what he's doing he has no business being 12-5.
No
But
business
Mike
at all.
McDaniel, yeah, like Mike McDonald in Seattle might give him a run for the coach of the year because Seattle has a 1 seed. But Shanahan he should be getting some votes and more consideration because getting this team to 12-5 when we talk about how Green Bay's 9-7-1 was like how with their injuries. So San Francisco is going to be valiant because I don't think Philly's going to really try to air it out. I think they've been a little too cautious offensively, but I just think you get the Purdy once or twice, you turn, you get a touchdown and you get a couple of 3-and-outs after you score with a field goal or touchdown, and you just kind of put a few drives together where you score points. So Philly gets you about a couple of drives, 10, 13 points off of like 3 or 4 drives, and you're holding them off the field a lot like how the Miami and Ole Miss game went last night. I think Philly will play a lot like that. They'll kick long field goals and they'll just keep the pressure on, and eventually just like, okay, something's gonna pop. Saquon's gonna make that guy miss at the second level and he's gonna be gone.
So San Francisco does have one thing that Philly doesn't have. And hey, we know about playoff Rondo, but none of these teams got playoff Purdy. You know what I'm saying? Brock Purdy, the last time the 49ers made the playoffs, he threw the team on his back, as you said, hop in the backpack, and won 2 games, right? I like Brock Purdy against Philly's secondary. The problem is we talked about the injuries, who's out there for the 49ers to catch the ball, but the 49ers also have Christian McCaffrey. Now, if he was just your traditional running back, I would say Philly can swallow him, throw that 8 in the box and do their thing, but he's going to get open in the flats. They're going to have something planned to keep the ball in his hand. So San Francisco will have chances to win this game, especially if they remember that Adoree Jackson is over there somewhere. Now, the problem for San Francisco is that Nakobe Dean is going, he's back, Jalen Carter, all the guys, they're going to stay up in Brock Purdy's face. And Brock Purdy, as much as I like Brock Purdy, he will give you an opportunity to pick off the ball. He will.
Yeah.
But I think going into this game, Philly and San Francisco have played each other so much over the last couple of years that I don't think there's much that Fangio is going to do that takes Shanahan out of his game plan, because Fangio doesn't switch it up much. Fangio is that old school, prideful, this is what I do, beat me if you can, survive if I let you.
I walked up a hill both ways in the snow to school with rocks on my back. I'm going to be aggressive. That's why I know,
So I think Philly is going to keep San Francisco in this game just based on style. Because like you said, they hand the ball to Saquon. We don't need to do all the fancy stuff right now. That's going to get them in trouble. But I do think that they'll pull it out in the end. I'm looking at something about 20-16.
That sounds like the way Philly's games are going. I just got a Sirianni kind of vibe feeling. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more aggressive than that. I think it's going to be, I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of 27-13.
Ooh, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, like just.
Well, that's what you wanted to hear, Riz. There you go.
I mean, I think just attrition. I think just it's only so much you're going to be able to do when you don't have the horses in the position to stop. Like I said, Philly has every weapon they needed that they had in their last Super Bowl run. I think the only guy that's probably not there is Mekhi Becton. Lane Johnson's back. A lot is on the line still. Barkley's back. Bigsby's making big plays when you get the ball to him. Shipley's making, plays. Like their running game is where it is. Jalen Hurts probably hasn't run all year. And I was talking to someone at work the other day. I was talking about how CJ Stroud didn't run a lot until that Georgia playoff game. People thought he couldn't run, but it's like saving. I don't want to get injured. I have a good team. We're gonna make the playoffs. I think I could see Jalen Hurts going for like 60 yards just on some RPO or just keeping the ball. Because it was a lot of times this season we saw it where it's like if he gets out of the pocket, he could probably keep going, but he throw it anyway. I think in this moment, he's going to get that 13-yard run, step out of bounds. It's going to be a backbreaker on 3rd and 7. And I believe he keeps drives going like that. And it just.
Hey, to be fair, Mr. Logical did pick San Francisco to win the West. All right. So Sunday Night Football, right? Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up, or as I like to say, move it or prove it. Because now, Justin Herbert, a couple years ago, they made the playoffs, jumped out to a 27-0 lead, and I'm not throwing it all on him, but all I'm gonna say is a first down is handy. Yep. Handing off the ball can be handy, and then last year, they went into Houston.
Scramble, maybe.
A lot of people thought that they could beat the Texans. He threw 4 interceptions. So 2 playoff games, Mr. Logical, 2 touchdowns, those 4 interceptions from last year, 52% completion percentage. Do we believe that Justin Herbert can go into Foxborough, home of champions, and lay his nuts on the table?
I saw something today. 4 of his linemen are ranked 35th or worse in their position, according to Pro Football Focus.
Okay.
So that's tough. Because listen, I do believe that the quarterback, because you have the ball in your hand as much as you do, you have to make the extra play that's kind of outside of your scope, your positional scope. Okay. Like, I'm not expecting a linebacker to be able to cover and get a pick on a wide receiver running up the seam every game. I do think that a quarterback, because you get to see everything, you get the vantage point, you do get an advantage because the defense clears out for the most part. Mm-hmm. You can make plays here or there with your legs, or just a matter of like calling your own number. Like, listen, 4th and 2, we want to go for this. So I think the team's confidence resonates with you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's had enough of those moments to where it just happens this weekend.
Okay.
We talk about, like, you picked Buffalo because I think in your head you're thinking that 3rd and 7, Josh Allen's going to make something happen. Or even just abnormal 3rd and 17, 4th and 12. Like, you believe that Josh Allen's got something in his character that's going to make something happen for the Buffalo Bills. The same way we all felt about Mahomes, the way you felt about playoff Purdy. He has something that he's going to be able to do, and you can recall this moment, what they look without him. With Justin Herbert, we don't have that evidence yet.
Okay.
So it's going to be tough to see then pull it off. Coupled with the fact that you're on the road against the number 2 seed that basically lost a tiebreaker because they lost to the Raiders 4 or 5 months ago. Like, they were in a tie for the 1 seed. So it's like they didn't sneak their way to the 2 seed. They only lost 3 games. They have MVP candidate quarterback. They have a coach that everyone's wondering, why did Tennessee get rid of him? Because they've already fired his replacement. Former player at home. Yeah, I just want to see the Chargers. Like I said, I'm not just throwing it all on Justin Herbert's shoulders, but I just want to see how they can pull this off.
Hey, so I'll tell you how the Chargers win this game. Now, before I even say what I'm about to say, I'm picking the Patriots to win the game. But I'll tell you how the Chargers win this game.
All right.
9-6 LSU Alabama. That's how the Chargers win this game. Just ugly, short like field position, clock running, ugliness
But they don't
because
they don't have the bodies to play ugly. I talked about your offensive line ranking. That's where it
I
gets
know, I
ugly.
know, but
Ugly
I know
is your
I don't.
offensive line. They call them the big uglies.
But the good
They're
news
all
is
substandard.
that the Patriots are not a team that generates a lot of pass rush. Now, obviously, with those backup linemen in there, maybe that's a little more probable this week, but that's not something that the Patriots generally do. I think that the Patriots, they have where Justin Herbert's going to be in trouble may not be his individual performance per se, but I think those DBs match up very well with those receivers. So I think it's going to be hard for the receivers to get open in a way that a quarterback like Herbert can, take advantage of it. Now, the Chargers should be able, for all intents and purposes, to run the ball against New England. New England has one of the worst run defenses in the league.
It was
Omarion
great for a
Hampton is
while, then
back.
it got bad. Yeah.
And I heard a crazy stat today, where I was listening to Mina Kimes and Omarion Hampton gets hit in the backfield more than any other running back in the NFL. So when he gets the ball, he gets hit more than any running back. But he's just so great at breaking tackles that you probably don't notice it that much. But here's one for you, Mr. Logical. Numbers, right? The Patriots this year, because they had an easy schedule. And I don't even like to have the easy schedule conversation unless we're talking about college football because these are professionals.
Yeah.
But the Patriots are only 1-2 against teams with winning records this season. They've played 3 games against teams with a winning record. You know what I mean? So this game is on Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. That's where this game comes down to. You cannot let Greg Roman dictate this game because going back to what I was saying, Greg Roman will just run, and they don't mind putting it to you because they believe in their defense. So I'm gonna take the Patriots to make one extra play. I think it's going to come down to the wire. You know what I mean? And I think we're looking at one of those 17-13 type games.
I know it's the playoffs, but it's the Chargers. I'm thinking we're looking at something more closer to like
31-13.
20, 24, 27, 14. Just like 20, like 24. I'm gonna go 24-14 New England.
I mean, I don't know. The Chargers, they have their own little momentum, coming into this game. I mean, they were 5-3 and they won 4 out of their last 5. Jim Harbaugh, as much as I like Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh, I think, is a better coach, and I think that the Chargers also have better coordinators. But New England has the better quarterback.
Yeah.
New England can match the Chargers' run game, just off of overall production. So I think the Patriots win
I
this
like
game.
the speed out of the backfield. I like the offensive weapons that New England can throw at you all game long. The running backs, power and speed. Stephon Diggs, great route runner. I think they use a tight end well. Drake May seems to really have like a grasp on his offense. No, it's the home team.
Right. Yeah. It's so Monday Night Football. Whew. Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers, welcoming in the Texans. Who wins, Mr. Logical?
Texans, dome team, traveling to Pittsburgh. It's probably going to be windy, probably chilly that day, or probably going to be abnormally warm Monday. I have to check the weather. I don't like betting against Tomlin. As much as I picked against the 49ers this year, I probably picked for Pittsburgh just as much. CJ Stroud doesn't keep the offense rolling enough for me, considering when it's rolling, how good he looks on touchdown drives compared to how he looks on those drives where they're on those drives where they punt, it's like night and day. Or those games where they win 17-13 or they win, last second field goal. Like that game doesn't look as good as he will look in a game where he goes 26 for 32, 3 touchdowns. It looks for the same guy to look completely different, and the defense being that consistent is like, am I gonna get the inconsistent CJ this game? With Rodgers been pretty steady, 200 something yards passing, couple of touchdowns. Pittsburgh's worked in their own version of the tush push with the tight end and his older brother, defensive tackle, pushing them. And I think they're good, winning ugly. I think Houston wants to score more. I think they want to be more productive offensively. Whereas Pittsburgh is like, listen, we don't care if it's ugly. We just want to have one more point when the clock's at 0. So heart over head, I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. Shout out Mike Tomlin, Newport News Zone. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if CJ Stroud had like this, like an inconsistent game, not a terrible game, not like a bunch of picks, but like 18 for 29, 202 yards, like just one of those games where it's like you're not making an impact. And I think he just has that game in him too often, especially this season.
So 29 degrees. 29 degrees.
Okay.
Rain tomorrow, snow on Sunday. The game is on Monday night. So it's going to be a little chilly. I still have questions about the Steelers' offensive line. But of course, we know that the story of the season for the Texans mostly has been their offensive line. So both of these teams are going to get after each other, and it's going to matter as far as who can get home. Now, the Steelers have something that doesn't sound like much when you say it out loud, but when you think about those weather conditions, it sounds like it's the right thing. They got Aaron Rodgers. This guy played at Lambeau, for most of his career. And, even last year, the last couple of years, he was a Jet. So, the weather isn't going to have any adverse effect on him.
There we go.
So CJ Stroud, when I think of cold weather, and it's hard because I don't have much data to go off of, but I think of the game against Michigan.
I was thinking that you're going to have to go back to Ohio State.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I just don't trust the Steelers. Like we're talking about a team that was a chip shot field goal away from not even being in this game. You know what I mean? You just never know what you're going to get week to week with the Steelers. So I truly don't know. So I'm going to go with the team that I think I know a little bit more about. So I'm going to take the Texans to win. Houston, by the way, back to my Aaron Rodgers point, because, for the yin, you got to have the yang, right? So they're the only team in the NFL hasn't given up more than 235 yards in the air this year. So we'll see how much Pittsburgh throws it in that weather, depending on, if there is snow or not. DK Metcalf's back,
well rested.
But DK Metcalf, yin and yang, has to say hello to Mr. Stingley. So that's going to be a matchup that I got my eye on in this game, because I don't trust anybody else across from DK Metcalf to do anything. So I'm going to take the Texans 23-20.
That sounds like the final score. The total they have here on foxsports.com is 38. And Houston by 3. So it's like that they have, so that's 20 to 21-17.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be a score like that. I'm gonna lean Pittsburgh.
Okay, so Mr. Logical, do me a favor. Give the people your Super Bowl pick one more time.
My Super Bowl pick?
Yeah.
Well, the one I made at the beginning of the year, because
No, not that one. Not that one. This is the recalibrated Sports Reports is ordered. I got Buffalo Rams, and I'm taking Rams to win the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna hold off.
Oh, you see this, y'all? See this, y'all?
Like, I just listen. I'll be honest. I don't know. I really just don't know. I really don't.
All right. Well,
know.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you a different question.
All right.
You know, said what team is going to make the shocking run to the conference championship game?
I think it's Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think Jacksonville. If I look at the bracket, I think Jacksonville.
Yeah, so if Jacksonville wins,
they reseed. I keep.
Yes, they do. They do. Jacksonville wins, and then you got Pittsburgh winning, and then you got New England winning. So Pittsburgh would go to Denver.
Denver is the one,
and Jacksonville will go to New England.
Yeah. So it's tough. Normally, you don't want to pick a team that's on such an extensive winning streak, but Philly was on that winning streak. You know, they won a bunch of games in a row last year. But yeah, I think Jacksonville will be your surprise team that represents, just because no one really expected much out of AFC South. Indianapolis starting the way they started was like a shock, but even you had said like, yeah, this is not sustainable. But I'm like, yo, they seem to have a formula. The formula seems to work, yada yada yada. Then a couple of guys get hurt, and then the bottom falls out. The Titans, we knew they never really had a shot with the rookie quarterback, and then when you fire your coach 5-6 weeks in, and then the Texans, you know, we thought they would be. They were the darlings after C.J. Stroud's rookie year, and that was up in question. And even Jacksonville, people felt like, oh, there was too much money they gave to Trevor Lawrence. So for them to respond the way they did with the new coach to win 13 games, it shouldn't shock people that a 13-win team is representing their conference, like, you know, in the conference championship. But I think that would be probably one of the more surprising, aside from the Panthers or something like that.
Well,
you know, I think the Jaguars would be the most surprising.
You know, I'm stubborn. You know, saying give me Caleb Williams and Sam Darnold back to back as my quarterback matchup. Give me the Packers going to LA for the NFC Championship game. I just don't trust them.
Packers, Rams, NFC Championship.
That's what I got.
That would be. That would probably be two. I think Panthers, Bears. Like I said, you know, we don't know how those going to pay out and everything else.
Right.
But I think the Panthers or the Bears in the NFC Championship game would be shocking because so many people were out on Caleb last year. Chicago doesn't really seem to have a lot of success recently.
It's just tough, right? Because it's just tough because, like with New England, right? This is Drake May's first playoff game, but you got Mike Vrabel, who's been here, battle tested. You know, you mentioned as a player and everything, and you know. But when you look at Chicago, you got the first time quarterback and the first time head coach. You know what I mean? That's tough. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they win,
that'd be surprising.
Yeah. So if the Bears win, it gets very interesting because if Philly wins, you could get the Rams could be going to the Bears next week. You know, I'm sorry. No, we would get Rams. I'm sorry, we would get Rams Seattle next week if Philly wins. You know what I mean? But if San Francisco pulls that upset, you know, we would get the Rams going to Chicago. And that's where things could get real interesting when you factor in the wind, the weather, you know, the Rams. You know, we saw this when they went to Philly last year. They played well, you know what I mean, but they still couldn't pull it out, you know, and with the weather in Chicago, as my Uncle Larry would say, shout out to him, that wind be biting, you know, says so. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm rolling with the Packers as my surprise, you know, to get to the championship game team. Mr. Logical.
Yep.
The other day, I woke up, you ever have those days, those conversations where people will be like, did you ever think that you would wake up today and by 5 o'clock, XYZ? So
XYZ happened.
I did not wake up and think that by 8:30 at night, Trae Young was going to be a wizard. I did not think
I
that.
didn't think anybody on earth who plays basketball would request to be a wizard. That's more shocking than him actually getting there. Shout out
What
to,
are you saying?
Listen, come on, man.
Don't be disrespectful. That's all I'm saying.
There's 450 dudes in the NBA. 450. How many of them you think are sitting in their locker room right now with their phone, texting their agent saying, like, yo, dog,
look,
see what they got going on in Washington. I think that team is going somewhere. Like,
there's a couple of reasons you want to go to Washington.
Well, he's a pass first point guard that can score. It's just, I think they're just being, and I said this before, I think the 6 foot tall point guard is just kind of just being funneled out of the game. It happened at other positions and in different dynamics. If you think about the 6'1" white point guard, you got TJ McConnell. That's kind of it. The American point guard. The slow power forward, small forward, like the big, like the Charles Oakley,
like the Anthony Davis,
Anthony Mason.
Anthony Mason. That's what
Anthony Mason, and then Dale Davis, like the center who can't shoot. You're still an effective basketball player. I think being able to set a good screen, defend, rebound on both ends of the floor, get your team extra possessions, stop defensively. I think that's a valuable asset to have. But the NBA was like, yo, if you are 7 foot, but you don't shoot, or you don't dribble, you don't shoot with the same consistency as Kevin Durant, and we're going to usher you out. So I think the 6 foot tall point guard is on his way out. And I believe he probably feels like, you know what? Let me go here and showcase.
Well, there was
basketball talent.
Well, there was a stat, what was it, 2 years ago, where they were, I think it was only 1 or 2 players that were under 6'2" or something like that.
That was listed under 6 foot. There's one guy for the
and I don't think Trae Young is really 6 feet, but that's just me.
They said there was there's only one guy listed, so that guy probably was like legit 5'10".
Well, so look, there's multiple reasons you would want to go to Washington. You know what I mean? And it's on the court, off the court, all of the above, right? So off the court, you saw that the Wizards was dumb enough to give that money to Bradley Beal. So you say to yourself, the Wizards will pay me and they might even trade me. So that's number one. You know what I mean? On the court, you got a lot of young talent. Alex Sarr, Trae Young and Alex Sarr, that pick and roll should be something vicious. To your point, he's led the league in assists a couple of times. So, he will get people involved. Obviously, the defense is going to come back a notch, which is part of the reason why the Hawks got rid of him, because the Hawks were something like their record with him is just putrid, and then when he missed all those games, the defense came alive, and they're still in play-in range right now. But also, if he's thinking about this, and I don't know if players think about this in this way, but then you look at the GM and you go, hey, that guy came up under Sam Presti. And when you look at OKC and their championship team, right, there's no Kevin Durant, there's no James Harden, there's none of these big stars or anybody on that level. They just got a team that fits well, plays well, young, fast, get after the basketball. And Washington has Alex Sarr. They got Keyshawn George. You look at the back of the bench, they got Cam Whitmore, even though he's not playing as much right now. You got Bub Carrington, the only rookie in the league to play all 82 games last year. So the Wizards have things to look forward to. And oh, by the way, they got draft picks. And, and here they are again, probably going to be picking in the top 5 of the draft. And this is the class that you want to be in. Cameron Boozer, AJ DeBoncha, Nate Ament, I ain't gonna say Boogie Flan, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
Darren Peterson, you got all this talent sitting there waiting to be absorbed. Or depending on how this looks, and this is going to sound crazy when I say it, but say you go 21 and 25 the rest of the way, because the Wizards are 7-5 in their last 12. But let's just say you go 21 and 25 the rest of the way. Maybe you package those picks and go get something. So there's many ways to skin a cat. And I'm not going to make the argument that I would go to Washington. But I'm just saying that if we get past the fact that their name is Washington, they're not the New York Jets.
Yeah. But going to the New York Jets, because of the way the meritocracy of the NFL is shaped, you are likely to actually get enough pieces to turn around your trajectory. Because in the NFL, they're a fourth place team. They're going to get a fourth place schedule going into next year. Yes, everybody else is getting the same perks, but you're going to get the draft pick. Maybe you get a free agent that, another good team. So whoever wins the Super Bowl this year, their guy who's coming up for some money might not get it. You can make things happen very quickly in football if you can get 2 or 3 of the correct pieces on a 53-man roster. You can change the entire trajectory of your team. But the NBA, it's a lot more difficult to do so. Maybe he just wants the ball. Because I know a lot, we talk about a lot of championships and a lot of pundits, like, guys who have podcasts and on TV, they talk about this guy's legacy versus this guy's legacy. Maybe he just wants to go ball. Maybe he feels like, I'm the veteran. I've had a level of success in the NBA for a long time, made some all-star teams, made the Eastern Conference playoffs. Maybe I can bring my pass first scoring capable skill set to Washington and turn things around. It's just, it doesn't really happen as often as we like. So I applaud him for not trying to join the Celtics or the Lakers or trying to, just trying to jump on, some already built bandwagon. I think it's like he's betting on himself, and I respect it. I thought that Atlanta will be able to make a better deal for him.
I didn't. You know what I mean? They got CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. Well, Corey Kispert is one of the better shooters in the league, but I didn't think so because he's just like the guy that we're about to talk about in a second. Like they're both those two little guards. They both should have been traded probably 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like if the Hawks would have traded Trae Young 2 years ago, they'd have got picks out of it. They even got something else out of it. But the Hawks were also rescued this week because the word on the street was after they made the Trae Young trade, the next move for them was to potentially trade Porzingis and one of or both of Luke Kennard and Zachary Richardson, who they drafted number 1 last year, by the way, for Anthony Davis. And now Anthony Davis, ligaments in the hand, he's going to miss a few months pending a second opinion. So the Hawks got saved from themselves. You know what I mean?
Not to bash Anthony Davis, but it's like I don't know why he would be in your trade plans without you seeing 32 to 35 consecutive good games.
I don't know why you would want Anthony Davis on your team if you traded Trae Young. Like that's a move you make if you still have Trae Young. Just talking about levels of player, but you know what I mean? Yeah. But to get rid of Trae Young, bring in Anthony Davis, I guess you're just trying to reinforce that defensive mentality, but it looks like he's going to miss a few months now. So that other little guy that I was going to talk about is that we got reports today saying that Memphis, for the first time, is going to actually listen to calls for Ja Morant.
That's concerning. Because, yes, he's a smaller guard, but he's still very exciting and he's young and he plays Granted, he probably don't play that much defense, but he's such a threat offensively and with his ability to get to the basket that he's just, he's putting the pressure on the guy defending him by proxy. That guy's probably getting exhausted, not doing much on the offensive end. So, like, at least you eliminate one guy because you're so good offensively. It must be to the point where they just don't want him in the building. I don't know what his value is, because when you're that talented and a team's willing to trade you, it's like, what's the baggage?
Well,
give me what are the reports that you guys have been dealing with? Like, what's been going on
well, there
since
was a
you've been in
point.
this locker room that you aren't telling me as to why you're getting rid of a
So,
talent?
so there was a point last season where we were talking about Memphis leading up into the playoffs, right when they fired Taylor, and we were saying, or I was saying, that it had been 2 years since he played 20 straight games. So that's number one. You're small and you're injured. Now, that's different when you're talking about somebody like Embiid, because you're such an imposing figure that can just change a game with your presence, even if you don't do much. Whereas Ja Morant, you need all of that you're talking about, the excitement above the rim, all that. You need that for Ja Morant to be worth it for you. So then, as they bring in the new head coach who was already on staff, he's one of those European dudes. So they play basketball a very specific, structured way that kind of, like just hovers over a player like Ja Morant. Like the joke, right?
Yeah.
The only person that ever stopped Michael Jordan was Dean Smith. It's that
Yeah.
same concept. So you want me to do all this movement without the ball. You want me to be here when I freelance this. I see the vision and I make it happen.
Yeah,
but
you run
want
plays
me to,
for the other four guys, and you give me the ball with 12 seconds left on the play clock. And
let me be Allen Iverson. You have them curling and setting screens, and you let me go one-on-one. That's what Ja Morant wants. And that's where I don't know, because now that you got Oklahoma City out here doing the things that they're doing, to your point about phasing out the little guards,
yeah,
I don't know how far these ISO teams can go. So adding a guy like Ja Morant to your team, because I was trying to think all day of where would he even fit. And I only came up with 2 teams, really 3, but I ain't gonna say the third one. But like, I'm gonna say it, but like not for real. Like I was gonna say Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because Brooklyn needs that star. They've been talking about trading Michael Porter.
Honestly, I think we talk about professional teams. It's not all championship or bust. Sometimes it's just, I'm trying to get on TV and I need people in the seats. So
or what was it? How high? I need money.
So that could be a greater factor. Like, Brooklyn can weigh having him on the team in the New York City market as a bigger benefit than him playing 30 games in a row. Right. Because they probably feel like we're not built for it. But I don't know why, I don't get why you'd make that trade either. It's tough. Like I said, he didn't do himself any favors. And I don't know. And a lot of the conversation surrounding him was like, who's giving him guidance? Like, the fact that he is still doing gun-related 3-point shot celebrations is beyond me. I'm like, dog, you can't be any more fraudulent, because either you're apologizing or you're fronting. We talked about the Instagram video. That was a lighter. Then why are you holding it up in the car like this, knowing it's a lighter? So either you're fronting or you're apologetic. And then you have it in the club when you're in Denver and you live in Tennessee. How'd you get it to Denver? They let it slide. Then the money. And then it's like, all right, dog, chill out with the gun stuff. What, you got suspended 20 games?
25, I believe.
25 games for gun-related stuff. Uh-huh. Came back from that suspension with the grenade celebration. And then brought the gun back like I'm putting the gun down. Don't pick it up. You are controlling your arms and your decision.
Why do you have the gun?
Why do you have the imaginary gun, the fake lighter gun, the real gun on a plane? Why do you have so many gun things involved when you can just be collecting money and playing a child's game for a king's ransom? I wouldn't want to give up any assets. If they cut him, I don't know how that financially works. If they cut him, I'll bring
they owe him.
tryout.
Like fully guaranteed
Then that's
contract.
on Memphis. I'm not putting my assets on
They
the
could
line
do a
for
buyout.
guy. I'm not putting my assets on the line for a guy who's willing to risk his assets for an imaginary weapon.
They could do a buyout at the trade deadline after the, but this, so the two teams that I came up with, Minnesota and Miami. So the only reason I say Miami, because they do have the structure, the culture, the head coach, and Miami started off the season really well, and it ain't been going so well lately. But I know that they want to make the playoffs. They're one of those teams that just say, give us a chance. We could be the 10th seed. Just let us in. Minnesota, because Rob Dillingham, is struggling. Nas Reed is struggling and coming off the bench. So maybe, you could package those two, maybe another player to make the money match, get Ja Morant. And now Minnesota has a legit point guard next to Anthony Edwards, because this Mike Conley thing only going to last for so much longer. And, Dillingham struggling as it is. They've been having White Dante do a lot of point guard, but I don't think you want that in the postseason.
So what are you doing? You bringing Conley off the bench?
You have to, I think. Because I don't know how many minutes, like as the season goes on and as we get to the playoffs, I don't know how many minutes he can consistently give you that won't hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the LeBron thing, right? Is like, yeah, I got Reeves and Luka going off, but I know that our defense can only be so good. You know what I mean? So, but the problem with Minnesota is defense is such a part of their makeup, and what's made them successful is that you could be sacrificing a lot to where it might not be worth it.
It just, per his public behavior, I don't know how he is personally. Oh, great catch.
The game is over. Who's yours?
You never know. This is college football. This thing is crazy. My bad. I got sidetracked with the catch. I'm not sure if his maturity level is worth me as a GM risking my kids' private school education that they're probably getting. Like, if I was a GM of a team right now, like, I got to see some kind of improvement. Like, we talk about Zion and his injury, but he came back different weight. You still get injured.
Different baby mama.
But he keep dealing with these porn stars. It's like, dog, you got to figure that part of your life out, because it's going to impact. And
Zion, do me a favor. At least get a Bella Danger or something. Oh, never mind. Scratch that from the record.
I need to see improvement. You can make mistakes. You're in your 20s. I have sons in their 20s. Make your mistakes. Well, now my son's going to be a police officer. He doesn't really have a lot of space to make mistakes. He should have done it earlier, but he didn't. So my middle son has time.
Make sure that he looks at the tires before he shoots.
Yeah. So make sure, you get this stuff out of your system. But like, if you want to be the franchise player, you want to be the guy, and you want me to move assets and convince a billionaire that you are worth the investment, your behavior has to match that. Even if this guy doesn't know much about basketball, he can pull up a celebration from 2 weeks ago. I'm like, is this the gun guy? He's still doing gun stuff? I don't want him on my team. Like, just that alone. Like, and I get that. Like, it feels like I'm harping on someone who made a mistake, but it's like, he didn't just make this mistake last season. That was like 3 years ago, maybe even 4. It might have been late 2022 when this stuff was happening.
And I mean, the good news for Ja is that he's only 26. the bad news is he's doing
still
these
acting like
antics at 26. But the good news is that he's still young enough to where if you get it, like I said, Miami, if you get into a place like that has the culture, maybe you would hope.
But Miami, the city,
is another
has
issue.
a very different culture that the basketball might not be able to.
Yeah, then again, you got what, like a 50-year-old dude out here beating trash cans with a belt too. So
Yo, it's just he needs a personal rebrand. Like he needs personally to take like account for. It's like, listen, people aren't after you. There's like I said, there's 450 guys in the NBA who play a lot of basketball. Mike Conley Jr. has played like 17 years or something like that. Doesn't have a technical foul. So it's not a matter of like, undersized point guard, I'm working my ass off, and then I give me the credit I deserve. Mike Conley's doing that. Trae Young's doing that. Kyrie was having his issues with the team because of they had personal differences. And he was sticking to his guns, and people didn't like that. But when it comes to like Kyrie the man, and when the way people talk about him, and the way it's how he bonds with the guys in the league, that's a different story. You can be controversial if people don't rock with you. That's one thing, but you can't be controversial because of your own poor behavior. That's why I can't bring you in. So Memphis is going to have to just sit them and keep paying them. Because I don't know a team that will roll the dice. Maybe the Suns, if they're bored.
Well, no, because they just picked up Jalen Green this offseason, remember?
But that's what I'm saying. So like you literally don't have.
I mean, he's hurt. He's been hurt, but
I just don't think you have a spot for him. Like you would have, like the Kings. The Kings are. I think everyone who's doing terrible.
You know what? Now that you say that, there were rumors a few weeks back that the Kings were looking to trade Devin Carter, maybe. So. But you got to make the money match. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but these teams are probably looking, like you said, looking at the draft, like, yo, there's like 3 or 4 studs. We might be able to get one of those guys. I know Jeff Teague says something like, if AJ goes to the Jazz, he's like, then I'll believe it's rigged. It's like he goes to Utah, he goes to BYU, then he goes to the Jazz. But like I said, these teams that are 9 and something, 10 and something, 7 and something. They're looking like, oh, it's January. The draft is a few months away. Our season's done in 90 days. And then, why do we want to give up assets for a guy who, might help us win some games?
And then congrats to Rick Carlisle, after on attempt number 14, he got win 1,000 of his career. So congrats to him. Mr. Logical, last thing before we get out of here. So 31-7. You with me? 31-7.
I mean, I got you.
All right. And then, in your last 10 games, 6-4. Currently down to the Grizzlies 14 right now. Are you concerned about Oklahoma City?
Nah, you need these losses.
Yeah, tonight I'm not going to harp on. Tonight I'm not going to harp on because Hartenstein's out. Chet is out. I'm not harping on tonight, but just overall.
We talked about the record, and I said if they were flowing the way because they started off with 24-1.
They were 24-1. Yeah.
If they had kept that going, and as of right now, they were something like 36-2. Then I'm like, okay, then the record's in play. Do you rest guys? Do you go for it? Do you look at what the 2017 Warriors did when they went for the record in 2016 and they felt like that hurt them, like they, extended themselves a little too much when guys should have rested. Now at 31-7, you just got to maintain your lead in the West, maintain your number 1 overall, which, the Pistons are challenging on the East, so like for a home court advantage. But yeah, as long as you can maintain that, now you can rest a guy if he needs to. Now a guy who, tweaked something, hurt his hand on a Tuesday, and you got back-to-back Thursday, Friday. You're like, you know what? you can sit out these back-to-backs.
They're still 4.5 games up. They did lose to the Spurs twice, though. So that might be concerning down the road, but I'm not concerned at this moment.
In a 7-game series, you got to beat them 4 times in what we're talking about.
It was like 4 times in 13 days. Yeah.
13 days.
And one last shout out to Jamal Murray for the 22, 8, and 17 assist game to win in Boston the other night. Nuggets still holding strong. No Jokic for a couple of months, maybe. They're 5.5. They're a game behind the Spurs for the second seed right now. But still 5-5 in their last 10, which is to be expected. But Denver, I think, is the type of team that it's okay to take these lumps because you're getting Jokic back. And that if you fall to, say, 6, you don't want to be that 3 seed that's got Jokic coming in.
Yeah, so, healthy, rested Jokic. Probably hung out with his horses.
Yeah, so I don't think you're worried there. The Warriors sitting down here at number 8, only 2 games ahead of my Blazers, who I said was going to make the playoff and not the play-in. So we'll see how that prediction goes. We'll be doing what did we get right, what did we get wrong about that. But, hey, enjoy your football this weekend. Enjoy the Hoosiers, because it looks like Indiana is going to be coming down to Dade County.
Listen, it's not over till the fat lady sings.
Hey, Kurt Sig Nasty. I told you, Mr. Logical, these people trying to put him in Raider conversations.
Once again, as a logical thinker, why am I taking my kids out of private school in Indiana to go to Las Vegas?
I don't know,
what are you giving me? Unless you're paying me $20 million a year, like John Harbaugh's request.
12.5. Indiana's going to give him 12.5. So, you at least got to give him 15. Which I don't know.
I'm not even answering the phone unless you say something like 25 a year, which you'll never say. So I'll never have to get that.
And besides the fact that we were talking about it the other day, the Raiders are paying 5 coaches,
and probably on the verge of being sued by another guy or an arbitration of some kind.
So the Raiders might do that thing. Like you always talk about how these teams are just looking for anybody that had a conversation with Sean McVay. Like the Raiders might have to settle for, Zach Taylor? Like they might have to call Tommy Reese,
like y'all split the Uber. What y'all talk about in that Uber? You're hired. but keeping it real, like if we want to, because I know I was, I don't know if you have to leave. It was something I was thinking about earlier.
Go for it.
I don't think we really dove into what's you think the best available job. Because now that we know all the guys who are fired and we have rumors of who you think is next. And I told you about the Mike McDaniel thing. The reason he benched Tua because they probably told him bench Tua because they want to move off of him and you can't move off of him injured. They learned that from Derek Carr. Like the NFL, recently, can't move off of him injured. So bench him, put him the backup. I knew Mike McDaniel was getting fired as soon as he put Tua to the bench. It wasn't like he was disciplining Tua. Dog, we talked about him being out of there last offseason. But Giants, Raiders.
So I would honestly say the Giants is the best job if there was no Joe Shane.
He drafts well. He negotiates poorly. I think he drafted as we talked about the defensive line.
Well, I think I saw a video the other day where I think he was trying to, or they were trying to convince him to draft Jackson Dart. He didn't want to.
Yeah, okay. So he might be a bit more of a problem.
Besides the fact that he, the Saquon thing that you always talk about.
The Saquon piece was probably not a good look, mainly because it was recorded and shown on TV as it was playing out.
Wasn't it him?
Saquon
wasn't he? His kid, that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
His kid said, "Get Jane, keep Saquon, get Jane Daniels." His kids were making GM moves from a position that they probably could have made that work. That what his son said to him on that couch in that office was a reasonable request that he could have finagled and in conversation to get up to one or two or whatever level he had to get to get Jay.
I
I don't know
think
if Washington was going to give it up, but if you give him a deal that they couldn't resist.
So I think that if you're looking at just overall talent and roster, I might be tempted to go to Atlanta. I might be tempted to go to Atlanta if I'm just looking at talent across the board. The Giants have the top end talent. They have Jackson Dart. People love Cam.
Giants also have money.
They got the defensive players that we always talk about.
Atlanta has a great defense. Not great. Atlanta has great defensive pieces that if you had a competent offensive scheme and a coach that was more consistent. I know we went back and forth on this on a hot box when Black Adam was talking about it. And I was like, I understood what he meant about he thought Raheem should have got more time because they went 8-9. But I'm like, yo, from a perspective of a fan that was watching more of these games, because he's a Rams fan, he probably watched more Rams games than Falcons games. Right. So he probably watched the Rams versus the Falcons and thought, oh, this is a good team. I'm like, yeah, that day, the problem is in those two games versus Carolina, they weren't ready to play. They lost to the Jets a couple weeks ago. Bijan was available. And it was like there's drives where Tyler Allgeier's out there and Bijan isn't. So it's like the schematically, it just didn't work. But the problem is Bijan is very good. He's going to command some cut of money. Right, I don't know what they're going to be paying running backs in the next offseason. Drake London is very good. Is he gonna want Jamar Chase money? Is he gonna want $28 to $32 million a year? Michael Penix is going to be coming due for money. So you don't have the space cap wise or even like as a structure to like give yourself a couple of years to build it up. Like you got to come in right now, fix it, and win the NFC South next year if you go to Atlanta.
Right. So I think Tennessee is pretty interesting because you have the quarterback and, or at least, he went number one. And you think to yourself, I could just build what I want there because they need a little bit of everything.
If I know there's no guarantee, especially in the NFL, if you can bank on 51 games, you're giving me 3 full seasons. And if I don't have it figured out after 3, we could part ways. Then I think Tennessee's a great spot. I think the Raiders are a great spot. Just because there's no expectations there. They're like the Raiders are 4th in their division. I don't think they're paying that much money to anybody. I think they can move Max Crosby for some assets. I think they could probably get off the Geno deal. Maybe Tom Brady scales back his Fox responsibilities and gets more involved with the team, and maybe get some better people. But if you're going to the Giants, Titans, Raiders, and they can bank on giving you 3 years, you're good to go because the money isn't really tied up. The Falcons, there's money tied up. Who else is available? Miami, you got money issues. You got to figure out what to do with the quarterback. Who else has it? Baltimore. Money. You got to figure out what you're going to do with the quarterback there too, because so it's just like there's talent there, but some of the teams, I like some of the bottom 3 teams. If you can get 51 games, 34 is probably what you're gonna get if you're lucky. But if they can say, "Yo, we'll give you 51," we won't. If you show real improvement, we'll give you at least 3 full seasons. Those are the 3 teams I would look at.
Okay. So like I said, I would. Baltimore has the appearance of championship now, but I just don't know how true that is. A lot they have players that are getting older, that are leaving their primes, so that championship window is either at the very end or it's already shut.
I don't think their championship window is even open. I think their aspirations are still like they have real aspirations, but I just don't know. I don't think the pieces match that level of aspiration.
I think that just looking at youth, and of course, this is another team where you got to figure out the quarterback. But looking at youth, I think Arizona could be sneaky good. You know, you got Harvin Marison Jr. You know,
if you can get 2 to 3 years on
Yeah.
that deal, I think you get a chance to turn it around.
Michael Wilson, you know, not because his name is Michael Wilson, but he broke out this year. You know, you still got Buda Baker. Walter Nolan is a rookie. Will Johnson is a rookie. You brought in Sweat, you know, this offseason. So Arizona has some pieces to play with. You know what I mean? And then John Connor or James Connor.
Their division might lose a coach and quarterback in Stafford, and so like I think teams will kind of get out of the way and help you elevate.
Yeah, because I was talking to Rez and Jack
Cleveland's probably a pretty bad spot too.
Yes, because I was talking to Rez and Jack about this, and they were hung up on the division that the Cardinals are in. And I'm like, but if we look at this and just peel it back for a second, I'm like, Stafford is still doing what he's doing, but how much longer is he going? Especially if they do end up winning this year. How much longer is he going to go?
Or if they lose.
Yeah, or if they lose. You know,
if they lose, does he want to run it back?
San Francisco obviously has the talent, but you know, this injury thing isn't anything new for San Francisco. You know, Seattle, you know, say you're still relying on, and I know I keep being disrespectful, but you're still relying on Sam Darnold. You know, he's going to give somebody a chance. It might not be you, but he's going to give somebody a chance to win a game.
I think of the four teams, Seattle might be in the best position because they play good defense. Their running back won't eat up that much of the cap. Smith and Jigba might. I don't know. That depends on what the league decides to do about the wide receiver position, the way they did it with the running backs. Where they
just the Falcons, I might look at that offensive coordinator.
Potentially. I like your Arizona pick because two teams in that division are going to, because of the age of quarterback, the Rams are probably not going to keep up what they're doing. And the price that the 49ers are paying their quarterback is going to be people that they just can't keep. They're going to have to work in.
And they're young as is on defense.
And they're young. And they're young. So it's like that. I like that.
I think that if you're looking at big pieces, and of course you got to figure out what you're going to do with the quarterback. You know, Miami. You know, like Tyreek Hill's probably out of there, I'm sure. But you know, you still have,
unless they have some magic capologists in that organization. That's a tough sell.
That is a tough sell just because of Tua. But if you're looking at the rest of it,
going last season when they were looking for a coach, and it's like, you know what, we got to get off this Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is like 6'5", 230, looks the part. I could talk another team into taking him in a deal and work out the money. I'm not sure if Tua gives you enough of anything to where I saw a lot of AI pictures of Tua in a Falcons uniform. Right. I'm like, where are we doing that at? Like, where are we getting this money to pay him when, like I said, they still got to pay Kyle Pitts. I think Cleveland, if Cleveland just had Shador going into next year and they were like, hey, we're going to give you a shot, I think that would be a good spot. But I'm not sure what Deshaun Watson will be available. So that's a problem. So now I got a quarterback that's getting paid a lot of money, that's coming off of a double Achilles tear, essentially. And then I got a backup quarterback that commands the most attention of probably any player in the NFL. So, and my organization isn't really shown that they're built to handle new information.
The best job is probably Green Bay. Unless Buffalo comes available, but you know, but you got to go into that thing because, right, like depending on how this goes, you know, if Buffalo were to open, so many of these other teams would be so pissed. Like because
But for that to be the case, that means we would be in the we would be in a day and age in January 2026 where a third of the league does not have a head coach. That'd be like 10 teams. Because
I know.
if we're gambling, man, we're gambling that a Pittsburgh loss means a Tomlin's partying of the ways.
No, I don't think that's true. You said
But
that, and I don't think that's true.
but I felt like that with the field goal. Because I saw a meme. It was
Like
like
it was
it
loser
said,
leaves
it
town.
was like Harbaugh out, and in the middle of the field goal it said Tomlin out. And someone said that that's the perfect meme for that situation. So
Right.
I think a 21-10 playoff loss at home to Houston, he could be out. I don't know. Like, I mean, Harbaugh being gone, all bets are off. So, like, Baltimore. So you got Baltimore, Cleveland, Miami, Atlanta,
If Pittsburgh were,
Arizona,
I think.
Tennessee, the Raiders. Hold on, we got more, right?
Hold on, say them again.
I got Baltimore,
Giants,
New York, the Giants,
Falcons,
Atlanta,
Tennessee,
Miami, Tennessee,
Cleveland,
Cleveland,
Arizona.
Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
So that's 8. Who fired their coach in season? A couple of teams did that. Oh, that was the Giants.
That was Tennessee and Giants. Yeah.
So we're at 8. And then we're thinking McDermott and Tomlin could be gone. So that's 10 out of 32.
Yeah,
teams.
I don't think both of them would be gone because, like I said, I don't even know if McDermott would be gone. That's just me talking. I think he should be gone, but I think you have to.
You're not the only one saying like having that kind of conversation.
I know I'm not the only one saying it. I just said it first, and then
SRAO.
But the LaFleur thing is like not us talking. That's stuff that is in the media. You know what I mean?
That's 11. That's 11 to 32 potentially after next Monday.
I think that it depends on who loses first, because the way that I'm reading the tea leaves, as they say, I think LaFleur could be out no matter what. Like unless they make that NFC Championship game run or they get to the Super Bowl, like I think he could be out. You know what I mean? Especially depending on how they lose. I think that if Buffalo were to make the AFC Championship game, you probably don't fire McDermott. I think if Tomlin gets
win,
you know what I'm saying? I think if Tomlin,
I think the make might get him fired.
I think that if Tomlin wins at least one playoff game, because they haven't won one since 2017. So if Tomlin wins on Monday night, I don't think they fire him if he loses next week. So the timing matters too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now, like, say Green Bay loses tomorrow, because they play tomorrow. So Green Bay loses, and you wake up Sunday morning and hear that LaFleur is fired. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that gives you, as Stephen A would say, maybe that would give you some cause to pause.
Or it makes you think, hey, I'm going to fire my guy and go get
LaFleur?
That guy, because I believe a lot of coaches are waiting for this weekend. If Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo are available Tuesday morning, I'll shave my beard off.
Oh, shit. Y'all heard it, Sports Reporters Order fans. Y'all heard that, right?
Tuesday, I mean, midnight Tuesday, like midnight at 12:01 is off. I mean, immediately fired. I mean, I doubt it, but like, I doubt that that'd be the case. But that'd be, like I said, that ended up being what? That'd be 12 or 13 teams without a head coach.
That would be crazy and ridiculous, you know. And you might have to go into college to get some of these coaches, you know, like Marcus Freeman already said he's staying at Notre Dame, you know, so maybe the Raiders can't get Sig Nasty, you know what I mean? But like, what if Baltimore calls Sig Nasty? I doubt they would, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Like, I don't recall a lot of successful transition from college coaches to the pros. I don't think it happens that often, especially now, considering you're running your college program a bit like a professional program,
Yeah.
but with less restrictions.
No, this
Like
is true.
I can kind of do whatever to get whoever I want to my team. Like I could talk to a kid or have someone on my team reach out to like all the players that graduated or played football in Miami that play college football all over the country. They're friends. Like, is Jeremiah Smith ready to leave Ohio State? If I'm Dan Lanning, a kid on my team could tell me that, and we can make arrangements to make it happen. But if Justin Jefferson wants to leave Minnesota and I'm the Raiders coach, there's shit I can do about it. But just hope that it comes out and hope that his agent reaches out to us because I can't initiate that contact. I can't entice him or influence him without us losing out. So,
well, we'll see. This is going to be an interesting weekend. I hope that you all enjoy your football. We love y'all so much. Thanks for locking in with us. He is the world famous, world renowned, cool, calm, and collected. Born in Texas,
always.
raised in VA.
You're
Representing everything New Jersey. He told me on good authority John Harbaugh's coming to the Giants. He is Mr. Logical. Then, of course, down here in the Alamo, by way of Maryland, I am your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Manny Pacquiao too old to see this coming. I am 2-5. So national title game looks like it's Miami and Indiana, but it's not until January 19th. So we got some time to kick back, relax, watch some more NBA, take in this wild card weekend. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand or ginger ale if your tummy is upset. Sports Reports is ordered out.
It's about to go down.
Hey! Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to